Welcome to Teapot Genies. In our travels, we found one of Ireland's best kept secrets, a little beachside town called Kilkee. Here we spent a day. Then we took the ferry across to Tarbert, where, to our surprise, we came across a small but excellent bracewell, better known as a jail. It was here that we interviewed the spokesman for the jail, Dan Nolan, and he gave us an interesting insight into the workings of the jail and the transportation system.
The first step, within a 5-mile radius of anybody, theft was the biggest thing here, where it was mainly food that was taken. They'd be brought here. If the court session was after taking place, they'd be held here for maybe 3 or 4 days and removed from here to Listowel, and from Listowel on into Tralee. And that's where the, if you like, justice would be dispensed there. And from there then they would be either taken to Beneville and taken round to Cork, and from Cove then on to England, and from England on to Australia. And that's the...
And this was the holding jail for just the local area?
Within a 7 or 8 mile radius, there's another jail in Glen, which is in County Limerick over the road. That's 5 miles away. You had a main one in Listowel, and you had the biggest jail then in Tralee.
So would most of the descendants of these people still be living in the area?
Some of them would, because when we developed this museum here, we had to be very tactful in changing the name slightly because of some people, not unlike Australia, where people are proud that they have convicts in their past. It's a very touchy subject in Ireland. If if there is convicts in your past, people just don't want to know. Maybe 10 years down the line we'll be like Australia.
It might be, yes, in Australia or America, I think. Yeah. They're pretty happy if they find a convict, providing they're not nasty ones.
Well, I don't think the nasty ones actually went there, because if anybody had committed a murder or some heinous crime, they were dealt with here.
Were they executed here?
They would have been executed in Tralee. There was no executions here, but they would have been executed in Tralee. And basically it was petty theft, or maybe fighting or grievous bodily harm. They were sent to Australia. But anyone for murder, they were dealt with at home.
Do you know if many of their families followed them after they were transported?
Well, basically it was the cost of getting to Australia, and I'd say once you left, I mean, there was no coming back for you, because if you were sentenced to 5 years, after 5 years you had no money to come back. Yeah. So you had to stay, and if you were married with a family of kids, I mean, if you couldn't afford to come back, you couldn't afford to take them out either. So I mean, it split families. So you may have husbands that were sent outside there, left wives and kids after them in Ireland, would say they got on with their lives, and maybe afterwards the husband got married outside again. So he may have had 2 families, one in Ireland and one in Australia. So that's, it was the cost. I mean, once you got out there, you couldn't come back.
No. I think I've heard of a case where somebody went out there and remarried, and then the other wife turned up. So that
well, then she must have had the money in that house.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Dan, can you tell us a little bit about the court system?
Well, you had the local courts, as in like this building here, and the judges would be local dignitaries. They'd be, we'll say, the landlords of the area. They would be the judges as such. Now, from here then you had the bigger court that would have been in Listowel, and from Listowel you had a circuit court that would have been in Tralee. Now after Tralee then you actually went up, but then you were talking money. You were talking money again, and we'll say the local poor, if I can call them that, would not really have had access to the Supreme Court, to the higher courts, because it all took money. So basically the small little courts like this dealt the justice to the, unless it was over land, and then you were talking, it was big money then to get from here up to the circuit court.
it was mostly the landlords that were the keepers of the court here?
Well, the senior landlord, he would have been appointed by the powers that be at the time. And I mean, he dealt justice to suit his own peers, if you like. So anybody that was brought up for theft of potatoes from one farmer's land, I mean, he was in for a bad time, because it was the landlords in the area that were the judges. So if you weren't in that league, you were going to be punished.
Were there a number of landlords around that time, or was it owned by mostly one family?
There would have been a number of landlords. The main one in Tarbert would have been the Leslies. You go up the road to my van, the Sandses. In fact, my van is known as Newtown Sands, and they're for years trying to change the name to my van on paper. You know, people that owned 100 to 300 acres of land, they were the people in charge. And then you had, we said, the crofters that were actually living on the estates. They were the people that were dealing the justice out to.
Thanks, Dan. That was really interesting talking to you. And I must say, these figures look really lifelike. I don't like the look of this fellow in the box here, or the policeman.
Well, they are actual costumes. It's actual wear that they would have been wearing. I mean, even that jacket is from the 1830s. So, I mean, that jacket...
So it's not a replica?
It is not a replica. So that jacket is probably worth more than the building itself now.
Oh, yeah.
We head off to our next destination, soaking up the beautiful Irish countryside and the native flowers along the way. See you next time.